give a warmest welcome to the MEC for the Department of Economic Development, Environment Conservation and Tourism, Ms. Biodiversity Bitsa Lenkopane.
Like it says, like I said, the program director, the organizers of this activity to, before to indicate to you guys that it is not in my nature to arrive late to activities. Now, these issues of protocol, you'll be placed somewhere, to brief you, people are waiting for you. So my apology before I could even start to greet all of you. Are you fine? All right. So I hope you have accepted my apology once more. I was well briefed that this is going to start at least around 9 o'clock. Of course, I had a meeting that took place up to 10 o'clock. I was ready at 10 o'clock, but because I now had to adapt, it is not that it will always be the case. We must apologize. When people have headed to our call, it is important that we respect them and we know that they have left everything for them to avail themselves to get to the business they are invited to. And that is in my nature that I give such respect to people. I am given a small responsibility here today to do an opening address, but I must also put a disclaimer that this is more of the biodiversity stakeholder engagement. And because this stakeholder engagement is at the level of the province, it means it has got the interest of government. It means it has got more of actualizing the priorities of the GNU as well as the priorities as stipulated in the SOPA pronouncement by the Premier, as well as the actualization of the budget speech by the MEC. And it has got also a lot of interest in the IDPs of municipalities finding expression in this exercise. And therefore, it is the exercise that will mainly get or derive the directive from what the Premier will be saying to us tonight and tomorrow. So I am here standing in on behalf of the Premier because being a member of the executive does not empower me to represent government fully when the Premier has already made himself available to come and give clarity on what he wants in as far as the 7th administration is concerned. But I am reliably informed that the attendees of this session are actually pulled from different points of stakeholders who are of interest, especially having got it very clear that the MEC has raised an interest in as far as the issues around more focus on biodiversity economy is concerned. And I'm taking that to all of you, you are sharing the same interest, either to become partners, either to collaborate, or to be beneficiaries of this biodiversity economy. In all the deliberations that the MEC had, including the expressions in the budget speech, the MEC has always said, we cannot do it alone as a province. We cannot do it alone as a department. we need to collaborate with other departments who are going to enable us to make it happen. We have to collaborate with the private sector. We have to collaborate with business. We have to collaborate also with our organized people. And importantly, we also have to collaborate with the Kgosi tsa rona from all points of the province, because we need land from them, we need people from them, we need opportunity. If we are to collaborate with private sector or business, we first have to have that relationship with our traditional leadership. And that's why when the planning of this whole exercise was done, I said, we can't leave them behind. I am also under the impression that we are joining hands with different departments, especially even the departments that are from national and also other departments that are within the province, for purpose of showing our people that as government, we are one and our main intention is to deliver services to them. I am opening this session mainly to invite men and women who are going to drive the discussions and to share with us their different views here, especially on issues of high-level segment work and other related sections. That whatever discussion they have, if that discussion does not have a contract that we have as government with our people, the exercise will be as good as not being done. That is why I say whatever that we do, we must draw strength from the priorities of the GNU, as well as the pronouncements by the Premier to say, whatever discussions that you are going to bring us, let those discussions speak about how we transform the economy with a specific context of biodiversity. Let's share experiences. Let's avail ourselves on how best we can work with government to make it happen. But you are also invited to share the good stories. And we know some of you might have joined us also to want to hear government making a commitment about addressing their issues. And we are saying we might not be able to say it specifically the way you would have wanted it to be structured, but just being together here is as a result of wanting to join hands and making it happen for you to get the service you deserve. We are going to invite you, as we open this session, to invite you, men and women, to unlock the full potential of the wildlife economy. We would want to share on how we understand it from all corners of this province. We might be opening the session being in Sun City, but what is important is for us to know that the interest here is to draw from all corners, starting with Bupirima, the last point of Bupirima, go Molopo, closer to Botswana, the potential that can be unlocked there, focusing on the biodiversity economy, to the last point of the Hartbeespoort Dam. Let's change the picture that is portrayed by us as a province. And that's why I'm saying, as we open here, we challenge all of you to really come closer and assist us in making it happen. As we allow you to participate in this very important session, I would also want us to showcase the good work that might have happened either from the side of private sector or government, but now to be processed in such a way that it is well coordinated, it is well structured, and it really gives what the Premier wanted us to drive the 7th administration to. We're going to have a number of invitees here. If I was to really acknowledge you one by one, it will take me the whole day. But I must send this message that all of you are important. It is for a reason that we value you, and we know when we work with you, we are going to get it right. And that's why we have invited you here. We will not be able to, I see when I look at this point and I look at this point, I see all potential friends and partners that are really going to make it happen and unlock what has always been a dream for this province, but what has been crafted by the Premier in his pronouncement. If you look at the pronouncements of the Premier of the Northwest on issues related to economy, 60% of the speech of the Premier was actually directed to this department. And it is through that when Dikgosi ba le teng fana ke bone taletso ya dikgosi tsotlhe, it could be baemedi ba dikgosi. We are on our knees and we are prepared to bring back the integrity ya dikgosi tsa rona. We know we have not been doing enough and we have opened a gap between us and dikgosi. And that is why the MEC has made it very clear that we must have a radical approach on repealing some of the existing acts, especially the biodiversity, to come up with new policies, including new regulations and new ordinances that are going to enable our people to tap from the opportunities around them that will always be identified and harnessed by our traditional leadership. We must also appreciate in our midst the presence of the members of the boards that the MEC has appointed in terms of the Act of the Parks and Tourism, because those are the enablers that we are going to say to them in the discussions that we are going to have throughout this program. They must know that finally they are the vehicle for implementation. And the composition of this board reflects clearly different points. We have this board that has got representatives of people and parks because we have interest in commercializing our parks. We have interest in the economy that should be drawn from different operations of conservation areas, so that our people must not only continue to celebrate the land they have acquired, but also to benefit from the products that will have to be unlocked from that particular land of existence. We are also having representation in this board that has got Kgosi, who has been submitted by the House of Traditional Leadership in Kwesen. It's a clear indication that we want to have representation from, it's a diverse board that speaks to all corners where our people are organized. And we have given them a mandate to transform. And I think up to so far, progress is well. It will go with celebrations. It will go with pains. It will go with some of the people being the casualties. But at the end of the day, it will bring change and it will respond to the needs of our people, because anything that we are going to process without responding to the needs of the people is as good as not being here. We are opening this session when the MEC has made it very clear that we must do away with the silo operations, starting from the point of the department itself. And that is why we acknowledge amongst the midst the CEO, who is the accounting authority of the gambling board, and members of the management from that entity. It is now time that when we deal with issues of biodiversity, we are going to look into the inputs that are sourced from community development workers who would want us to apply the standard operating procedures that guides our operations of our rangers in parks, but also all the strategies that have been developed in different sections that tap from this biodiversity. And amongst them, we cannot run away from the point that where there is tourism, we can't leave out the issue of gambling. Like Premier o dirile gore mmereko wa ka ke go dira tšhelete. I am not interested in any other thing except a thing of making money for government. Coming up with strategies that are going to make money for government, that are going to make money for private sector, that are going to make money for individuals who are organized in such a way that they want to tap from the facilitation that government will be doing, and making money also for those who knows that they can knock at different doors, but they need government to take a lead, like your CPAs. Obviously, those who have acquired land on our conservation areas, they will need us to come with the co-management approach, which then says, I am responsible. When you are a CPA and you are there, you must know that it is for a good reason that we are here, that we must tap into, be it a plant, be it an animal, be it the piece of land, be it whatever that is around you, to be turned into something that will be a source of generating income. We are not here to advertise positions. We are here to come up with strategies of massive creation of jobs, and in whatever discussions that we bring forth as we open this session, it will have to have at the back of our mind, responding to the issues of job creation, responding to the sustainability of whatever that we are going to bring in place, and making use of the available resources that we have. We must also acknowledge those who volunteered to join us, who are saying we are here, because it is also our responsibility to put at the center the issue of transformation. And transformation goes with development, and it goes with empowerment. Which then says, as we deliberate, I know I have been briefed that we are also going to look deeper into the game donation transformation policy, which we are going to invite your SANParks, DFFE, and all those other departments and the Kgosi tsa rona to collaborate and start to find a way, because the nice thing about it is that this industry has got men and women who are saying, we are here, MEC, we want to extend the hand so that we transform our people. But our people must also know that we are not going to draw you from a kitchen and say we want to transform you to the game transformation. It depends on how the policy is going to categorize us such that it really talks to empowerment, transformation, and most importantly, being able to measure the impact of the implementation of that policy. The Premier will tonight brief us on the developments, especially on closing what has always been the gaps that were left by government when we were to confront issues that are of interest in our communities. We know the issues around the wildlife donations in the Baja Mariba. The MEC has already engaged on that matter, and my interest is that we must close those matters and we must start to locate the Kgosi tsa rona where they belong. The policy on Mafisa and game donation and transformation must be able to come out very clear on a framework and application of how we are going to cater and categorize the Kgosi, so that we must do away with these things of communities fighting the Kgosi. The donation and the policy itself must talk to how it is going to be extended to our communities in different CPAs and broadly in the province, but it must also speak to how we are going to address it, especially on most of our Dikgosi that are also having establishment in the conservation areas. Because it is whether we like it or not, it is the responsibility of government to respect the Kgosi tsa rona. It is the responsibility of, you can't have a poor Kgosi and you want to claim that you are fighting poverty. Our people must see how poverty is being tackled through how Kgosi is being handled. And Kgosi must also allow him or herself to be transformed and to be guided such that we are able to showcase the impact of this game donation policy. And lastly, to the officials and the organizers led by the head of department and all those who have been organized in different work streams, allow me also to thank your hard work and that has given this shape. You are once more appreciated. I know I worked for government for 15 years. There has never been a time where I was called just to be told, but we appreciate that you have been coming here every day doing something. So we appreciate the hard work. We know it was not easy. I always got briefings that at times you will sleep in the mornings where you have to check whether you have brought all these people together. When there is an inconvenience that has been caused somewhere, as I open this, we put before you our apologies that it would have not been as per our plan, and I think the team will improve in the next day. However, you are welcomed. This is not Sun City only. This is the Northwest. You are located rightly at the beautiful and attractive part of the Northwest. I know when some of you are here, you think you are in Cape Town. No, relax, you are in Bokoni Bophirima. Welcome to Bokoni Bophirima. This is where when you want to refresh, you can move to the far side of this area, around Cascade, where you can have your own sea, you have your breezes. As you do that, we know you'll be our tourist, and we have already declared every point to be a tourism destination. And it is out of this that we would want to draw some of your inputs after that experience. We are interested from this point on the strategy that has been developed that is informed by the community-based tourism strategy. The community-based tourism strategy. Any tourism strategy that is not informed by a particular organized community is not going to work for us. You are welcomed in this Sun City. Those of you who brought wallets that are full of money, it is my responsibility that I must draw from those wallets. On this side of Sun City, for every development, you will have the slots machines and all different types of gamblings. Please get to that point because we have given them permission to do it for our people. So some of you might live here being richer than you came, or you might have contributed to us. You will still be in the Northwest. If there is no allocation of where you're going to stay, around this area, there are establishments of different B&Bs, and it remains your responsibility that you must make use of those resources. Deliberately, we did not pay for you, for we know that you are our partner and you will be contributing to the development of our SMMEs, because I have told them that in my budget speech, for every session that I'm going to conduct, they are going to collect from you. So this is a platform that I have created for our small SMMEs. Osara is there. I hope she brought a lot of vouchers that those of you who are not having accommodation in Sun City, we are also having some B&Bs around. And you can as well enjoy, because there's ample time here, to pass through the Hartebeespoort Dam. It is still the Northwest for you. We are also having the far part of the Northwest. That's why we have 3 days of your stay. You can still reach out to Dr. RSM, where you'll still enjoy part of what biodiversity economy is going to be drawn from as you deal with the whole value chain and the establishment of the hubs that we are going to look at. So, ka tsela e ntseng yalo ba gaetsho, wa ke bone CEO wa NWDC. You know, if I cannot mention the presence of NWDC here, it might be a problem because the collaborations that we are going to have, if you want to bring more money on investment through biodiversity, we are going to make use of NWDC because it is our MFMA 3D schedule. So we can collect, we can even create something which might not be VBS, but can work for our community. So the CEO is around here. His name is Shellwood, but he is brown in color. So when you see a brown Shellwood, you must know that is where we are packaging whatever that you have brought today. The MEC will also be having sessions with those who want to reach out to sell their ideas. We'll be here for you. I have also briefed the Premier that we will have time with you so that you unlock. As I look at the back, I see also the person who deals with liquor licensing. There's liquor around here. We have given them licenses. You must reach out late in the afternoon to just get it, because as you do that, you'll be responding to a system that we have put in place. Amogelesegang bagaetsho, tlholang sentle dintšha di golegilwe, lo santse no le mokoni bophirima, re feng sengwe le sengwe se lo se tshotseng, Modimo e le mothusi wa lona. Ke lo amogetse ga ke rialo.
Thank you, Honorable MEC, for encouraging us all, emphasizing the need to collectively collaborate as various sectors in championing biodiversity. I will now be handing over to my co-facilitator for the day, Mr. Korombi Matimbe. Can you please ascend the stage and take the session 2, which is high-level technical segment, work session. Aramo amogeleng ka lekgofi bagolo.
Thank you very much, Kia Leboa. Mutusha Mtswara Marapo. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me first take this opportunity to appreciate the privilege afforded by our Honorable MEC. Thank you, MEC, for inviting us all here to share our knowledge, our wisdom, collective, to take the biodiversity sector to another level. We really want to thank you so much for that. Let me also acknowledge all our esteemed councillors who are amongst us, either at district level or at local level. We appreciate our principals to grace this occasion, but also acknowledge Mahoshia Runa from all the regions that are here. Runa, we thank you so much for coming and grace this auspicious event. And amongst us, we do have, of course, our HOD, the leader who support directly the administration, led by our MEC. We want to thank you, HOD, for supporting and make sure that at a technical level, we have got all these stakeholders that are sitting here. I think Northwest, you have done so well for bringing together all these minds together here. Can we really give a round of applause for our MEC, the HOD, and the team? And let me appreciate all the board members that are here across all the entities of the department, but also the CEOs of those entities, either on an acting position or capacity or otherwise. We really want to thank you for coming. The nature of biodiversity, as the MEC has indicated, would require collaboration within the sector, which is the environmental sector, but also across the sectors, which means we need to reach out beyond our environmental sector to bring in ICT, to bring in transport, to bring in education, and a whole lot of other sectors, manufacturing and so forth. That is the nature of how this sector will begin to see the fruits of the investment that government is making. Let me also appreciate our People and Parks program, as earlier indicated here. They reside within the vicinity of these protected areas where their forebears have been removed in the past. But what they have decided is that we want to dedicate all this conservation land, all this land for conservation in perpetuity. That is a commitment you cannot buy. That is a commitment which cannot be equated to money. It's a commitment for generations and generations to come. Can we appreciate them, please? And we really want to also acknowledge the presence of our business, our industry stakeholders, our academia, and of course, researchers in that category, but as well as those who are in the media space, our fourth estate. We really want to acknowledge all of you. The reason why I have to go this route is because we have got our work cut out for the day. I will first here just give you an overview of the sector, and of course riding on the what our MEC directed us earlier on, and give you that overview of this program at a technical level. But when we have done that, then I will then call upon the various presenters who will come here to the stage and share with us a number of topical areas that we want to deliberate. MEC directed that we should be able to engage. So don't hold back. But all engagements must be done the way Northwest people do, with respect, but also making sure that we express our minds and share the views that we have, because it only requires a collective to do what we can do. I'm sure my presentation is getting ready. Maybe when the presentation is getting ready, MEC, Honorable MEC, the Northwest Province, in terms of the total gross domestic product of the country, contribute every 6.40 rand to the 100 rand of the economy of this country. So which means Northwest Province contribute 6.4%, and I believe those statistics are on a growth trajectory. The way how the 7th administration has started is such that in no time we will see a growth trajectory, a bar going that way. But also, in that contribution, the economy of the GGP, or the gross geographic product of the province, is just 500 billion. So meaning just around 500 billion and more, and still growing. And we really must appreciate how the setup of the economic cluster of the province is set up. I did look at all other provinces. On the top of the chart of the province, you have got mining, which occupies more than 1/3 of the economy. So meaning you have got about over 30% of the GGP of this province contributed from mining. That is at that level. And that is why, as the MEC was guiding us, that she wants to make sure all these boards are here, it is because we need all the sector players within and across the board. Now, when you look at the GGP of the province, number 2 is the personal services. You know what personal services entail? Personal services entail including but not limited to health services that people receive, education, hospitality services, and a whole lot of other services that we receive. And that occupies about 17%. It's a huge number. So it simply means that Northwest Province has not lost the tourism, because you have always been the mecca of South Africa in as far as tourism is concerned. And with this new vision of our MEC and the Premier, we're likely going to see all the glory days when Northwest Province was leading the whole nation in terms of tourism beneficiation as well as tourism services. So that's where the personal services are. Now, on the third layer is finance, which is sitting at 16%. And that is very important, which means the banking sector is playing a critical role for the economy of this country. Now, when you go to the fourth, you find that there is trade. And I cannot ask for more. Once you see trade sitting at 12%, there is potential for it to grow. Now, when you go down the slope, you then have got government services at 7%. Then you have got very, very fundamental, which is very close to my heart, manufacturing, sitting at 5%. So which means you have got a baseline, you have got a foundation to take us forward. I'm saying all this so that at least I weten your appetite as I go through this presentation. I would need my laptop so that I can see. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. I will stick. So MEC, we have got a province that is not only lying on a platinum richness endowment, but a province which is lying on almost all sorts of minerals which God will keep on revealing them as and when the time arrives. You will be surprised. South Africa is so rich with minerals. But not only that, but the heritage, richness of the people. And that is the biggest endowment that we have. The people of Bokone, Boprima, the people of the Northwest Province who are diverse, who are rich and endowed with a whole lot of skills. Now, in terms of biodiversity economy, South Africa is recognized as the third or as one of the 17 mega biodiverse countries in the whole world. And I mean in the entire world. Top 17. South Africa, that's where we feature in terms of richness of biodiversity. And this on the backdrop that we only occupy 2% of the land surface. If you look at it, there are species that are only found in this country that you will never find anywhere else in the world. Nowhere else in the world. You find them in South Africa. If you were to, I know we don't take it, we just take it for granted that we enjoy rooibos tea. There is no country anywhere in the world that has got a natural growth of rooibos tea. Rooibos tea is a naturally grown specimen of plants that you can only find in South Africa, in the Cape provinces, Northern Cape, Noord Cape, as well as the Western Cape. That's how rich we are as a country. Go to the next slide. Now, if you look at this slide, it talks about 50% of water comes from national ecological infrastructure, and 40% of people in strategic water source areas rely on water from springs, rivers, and streams. And this is very important. I'm the generation of the 60s. And at that time when I was born, we need not to purify water from the river. All what we needed to do was to kotama and drink water. That was the rule of the game. Now, when we talk about strategic water source areas, and when we talk about ecological services, we are talking about the richness of biodiversity that we have. The question is, when our forebears handed over the baton to our generations, did we assist in ensuring that the natural heritage continue to give us and supply us with the ecological services that we require? Did we do that? That is the question this generation should ask. This generation should cringe in anger when you see somebody chopping down a marula tree. Because marula tree is a heritage. Marula tree is a sacred tree which not only produce fruits for animals and human beings, but it's also a shelter. So we should cringe, literally cringe, if you see somebody taking down a living tree for no good reason. I got angry one day when I went when I came back. I see somebody has chopped down a Natal mahogany on the street next to where I stay. Oh, I got so angry. Then I asked, who chopped this tree? Because Natal mahogany you cannot just find anywhere. Then they said, no, it is your neighbor, because the neighbor says they saw a snake wallowing in the tree and they chopped the tree. I said, no, you can't do that. Okay, do you want those snakes to come and stay with us? Where should the snake go then? Only to find that that was an excuse to get wood from that poor mahogany plant. I'm emphasizing this thing, that if you look at South Africa across the board, we are a water scarce country. And the trees that we see, our forebears, our forefathers have seen them grow. And it can't be, I use this chainsaw, and cut it like that. So let's take care of the environment. Look here, 1.2 trillion of assets in the South African banking system are highly dependent on water. That's how serious the ecological system is. Look here, tourism is sustaining over 1.4 million people today. In other words, 1.4 million jobs at the moment, close to 1.5. Tourism generated just last year 216 billion to the economy. The question will be, how much of that 216 billion, how much share as Northwest Province are we claiming back? Tourism not only did that, out of that 216 billion, 95 billion came from the foreign tourist arrivals. 121 came from domestic tourism. That's why I was so excited when our MEC indicated that utilize the resources, because we are domestic tourists, aren't we? We are. So we utilize all the offerings and the products that are here. Last night I was so excited buying food and drinks in this precinct. When you are here, you feel like you are in a little heaven. It's so exciting. Now, the other thing is that 12% of these visitors, or of these tourists who are generating 216 billion, they are coming and visiting all our areas to enjoy nature. Those are photographic tourists. And they generate 27.7 billion. Next slide. Out of the biodiversity richness that we have got over 90,000 species of plants in South Africa of different type. But the top 23,000, out of the top 23,000, you have got about 2,000 that are designated and known as medicinal plants. I remember in 1969, when I had smallpox everywhere in my body. My mom, I was 3 years old at the time. My mom then went to find a bark on a tree. It was a red bark. She spread it all over my body. Everywhere in my skin, I had smallpox. That's how serious that thing was. So she started applying this thing every day, and in no time, that thing was gone. It's the traditional medicine and the knowledge associated with the traditional medicine. And this traditional medicine, these medicinal plants that are being utilized by our traditional health practitioners, they support work for some over 200,000 traditional health practitioners in the whole country. And you know how many clients for traditional health practitioners are? They are 27.7 million. 27.7 million South Africans get assistance in terms of their ailments from traditional health practitioners in this country. And the biodiversity sector is sustaining over 418,000 jobs. Next slide. And as you can see, these jobs are spread across the board. There are jobs that are particularly focused on protecting biodiversity. There are jobs that are focused on scientific research and so forth. And there are jobs that are focused on ecotourism and those that are from extractive use of biodiversity. Next slide. At a regional level, and this is very critical, at a regional level, South Africa ranks #1 in terms of optimizing on biodiversity. And remember, according to us, we feel we haven't gone there. We're still far much behind. but we still rank number 1 in the continent. How do we rank number 1? Out of the 33.9 billion US dollars generated by our sector, 9.5 billion is generated by South Africa, US dollars. I don't know, for those who did arithmetic, how much that is multiplied by 17 now. 9.5 billion US dollars. How much is it? Let me see. How much is it? How much is 9.5 multiplied by 17? I used to be a teacher. Can somebody just tell us? You got it. So it's 9.5 multiplied by 17. It's how much? 163 billion. That is the economy. That is the biodiversity economy. And I'm saying all that because out of that 9.5 billion, 2 billion is a contribution from the floral kingdom, which means this is the economy coming from products coming from plants. That is the 2 billion US dollars. The 7 billion is coming from the faunal kingdom, meaning these are the billions that are coming from wildlife, from the animals, from the wild animals. 7 billion US dollars. Let's go to the next slide. So I was just wanting to emphasize how South Africa lead. Next slide. Now, as our Honorable MEC indicated, all this thing comes and stems out of what we call our own constitution, which is then layered by policies and layered by legislations. That is why in the MEC budget speech, she spoke about reviewing our legislation to respond to the current circumstances. And that is very important. Next slide. So this is the policy. So which means when we are going to embark on this program of optimizing on biodiversity, at a national level, we already have got a policy. And this policy says, and very carefully listen, 1, we must conserve and promote biodiversity. Number 2, we must sustainably use biodiversity. Number 3, we must make sure that there is fair and equitable access of benefits arising from the use of biodiversity. Number 4, we must make sure that the biodiversity sector is transformed. Very, very important. At the moment, the wildlife industry, it's 96.5% male white South Africans at the moment. So which means our male South Africans are owning 96.5% of the wildlife economy at the moment. The rest of the population, we owning about 3.5. The good thing is that when we work with our industry, everybody, including those established white farmers, they are prepared to make sure that they put their wisdom, their experience, their resources to make sure that we lift each other and lift those who are coming, and for us to go forward to respond to what our Honorable MEC indicated, that we must have an inclusive economy in line with the 3 pillars or 3 goals of the GNU today. Next slide. The good thing as well is that after the constitution, the policy, we also have got other management instruments. And in this case, the work of the biodiversity economy is patched under the strategy which we call National Biodiversity Economy Strategy. I'll just read the 4 goals and move on. 1, with this reviewed National Biodiversity Economy Strategy, the expectation is that we need to leverage biodiversity-based features to scale inclusive ecotourism industry, which means photographic tourism. We must maximize on photographic tourism. And Northwest should take the lead in this regard, because you have got a whole range of nature reserves, the Pilansberg of this world, the Marakele, and all the Burakalala, and many, many other nature reserves that you have, and the parks that you have, including good areas under private sector as well. Number 2, sustainable consumption of game from extensive wildlife systems that drives transformation. And I need to emphasize this. South Africa reached a point of precipice in the 60s when people were excited with the gunpowder. We drove the plains game to almost a point of extinction, such that we only were left with 501,000 plains game around that time. But then what did we do? As a country, we embarked on a program to be able to restore and recover the lost game or the lost animals at the time. Guess what? Today, we are sitting at over 20 million plains game in this country because of the conservation model that we use, where we allow private sector to run their businesses, where we incentivize the private sector to be able to optimize and get revenue out of what they do. 3, sustainable consumption of wild and produced marine. 4, well-structured, inclusive, and integrated and formalized bioprospecting and biotrade. And lastly, and this is very important because this is a cross-cutting goal, secure and enhance ecological infrastructure across ecosystem. Next slide. Aha. Okay. So this one is what we need to be focusing on in the technical discussions. We have realized that as a nation, we fall under the categories of developing countries. And as a result, developing countries have been exporting, since the 1960s, $152 trillion of commodities to the global north. That's what we have been doing. That simply means we mine our minerals, we harvest our animal skins, we harvest our plants, and what do? We take them to the rich nations without beneficiating them here locally. So the Biodiversity Mega Hub is a localization strategy for the IBRs. IBR simply means indigenous biological resources. So the Biodiversity Mega Hub is about changing the trajectory wherein we are exporting 70% of all our indigenous biological resources in raw format to rich nations and only beneficiating 30%. That's what we are doing currently. The only sector that is doing well to change the narrative, the industry, is the rooibos industry. You know what the rooibos industry does? The rooibos industry generates 18,000 tons of rooibos per annum. Out of that 18,000 tons, they manufacture 11,000 tons here in South Africa and produce cosmetics, they produce tea bags, and they produce all these things here. They only export 7,000 tons overseas. And what then happens? They generate over 5,000 jobs in the process. And what does that mean? It means the rooibos industry is localizing and beneficiating 61% of the IBR of rooibos here in South Africa. And that is all about the mega hub. Now, when you look at this mega hub, I wish I had a pointer. I want to go to the Northwest province. Where is it? Here. Yeah. It says Biodiversity Beneficiation Mega Hub, which is the faunal, which means the animals, biodiversity mega hub. So what this simply means is what I will articulate when we go down. But before I leave this slide, every province has got a landmark, has got an installation, has got a critical landmark that will guide how we localize our biodiversity. So what we are saying, Honorable MEC, is that I think enough is enough that for the last many centuries, we have been exporting all our biological resources without having added value to them. Now is about time that we beneficiate them here. In 1875, a guy called Charles Stevenson had TB. He was a Briton. He was about to die. Somebody said, go to Africa, because Africa is hot and warm. You may recover. Indeed, he came here in 1875. When he arrived here, he was told there is a traditional health practitioners who know how to deal with chest-related diseases. Go to Eastern Cape. That guy went there towards the border of Lesotho. And you know what happens? When he arrived there, he was given a concoction of Pelargonium sidoidoids. It's a red colored thingy which is coming from the roots. They treated that gentleman. Within 6 months, his TB was gone. When he went back to Britain, he started exporting Pelargonium from Eastern Cape for many, many decades. He sold his company to the Germans. If you Google there, you'll find that Pelargonium sidoidoids products are now being generated from Germany today. All the cough mixtures that you see, just look at them. They come from a Pelargonium sidoidoids that comes from the Eastern Cape. So we are saying now is the time for us to beneficiate our own resources. We cannot be rich with these resources and then we are poor on the other hand. That is the whole story. That is the whole issue about the beneficiation hub. I won't go into details on this hub because I want to focus on the Northwest. Next one. Now, the faunal biodiversity mega hub for Northwest will simply mean that instead of South Africa exporting all the crocodile skins to Europe and meeting their standards, instead of South Africa exporting all the hides and skins, ostrich leather to Europe, instead of South Africa sitting in the various ranches with unused leather which are rotting, all these leather products, all these leather products that we have we are going to, instead of channeling them to overseas, all provinces should channel them to Northwest Province. That is the whole idea. Is to make sure that instead of us exporting these 90,000 tons or whatever tons that we are exporting of leather, we must channel those to Northwest Province, because Northwest Province has to become a mecca for leather products in the Southern Hemisphere. Not in Africa, not in South Africa, but in the Southern Hemisphere. That is the whole vision. And you know what that will mean? It will simply mean the colleges, the technicants, this CATHSETA, all these skills training, there must be a full focus on training skills on how to make products out of the leather. You're talking about Louis Vuitton. There must be Louis Vuittons coming from here, from the Northwest Province, out of this mega hub. That is the whole idea. Next slide. Next slide. Continue. Okay. So the good thing now is that out of this, there we are, this one I've already spoken to it. Out of all this work that we need to look at, again, if you go back to our MEC budget speech, she has listed a number of areas that we need to look at. One, the biodiversity economy as one of the examples, with all its value chains. Issues of energy, transport, manufacturing, agro-processing, ecotourism, health, life sciences, Mahikeng Airport, all very important. That airport must work in no time. If there was any area where we need to invest, as if there is no life tomorrow, is that airport. You know why? Because for Northwest to reclaim its glory days in terms of tourism, the airport must work. And therefore, all efforts, all resources must be channeled. You know, I used to hear, I've been in the tourism industry for over 25 years. I used to hear that the airstrip at Mahikeng, it's one of the longest that we have in the country. Am I right? That's what I used to hear. And therefore, all efforts must be put behind that. We know in the Pilansbeek area, that airport is rolling because there's a lot of chartered flights, but you need also the one which is focused on not only on chartered flights for visitors, but also for goods and services, but also for the bulk services, including ordinary people traveling to see their friends and relatives. So Mahikeng must come back. And I'm happy because it's part of the budget speech. And then operations of the SCZ, small business development, trade industry development and investment promotion, tourism infrastructure, very, very important. I was happy to learn that our MEC, I think it's our MEC for infrastructure or public works, in her budget speech, she made sure that part of the routes, the tourism, the roads network, road networks that we have, she also prioritized the ones that also go to tourism attractions, which is very important. Very, very important. And I know in Northwest you have got 19,000 kilometers of roads. 5,000 of those are tarred or paved, or more than 5,000 are tarred. And I'm happy that when government is embarked on this program to continue to pave and make sure that our roads are accessible to our tourism installations, it will be much easier. I can already see the glory days of tourism in this province. And it can only happen when we work together as guided and directed by our MEC. Next slide. Now, I'm about to end now, because all this work of the value chains of the faunal mega hub will never see the light of the day if we don't put the anchor projects that support it. If you go back again to the budget speech, our Honorable MEC speaks about Community Rangers program. Very important. It's an initiative which we are fully behind the province to support the province. What this one do, and that's why I'm happy that the team, HOD, is embarked on a program to review the Biodiversity Act or the ordinances. It is because one of the area you need to look at when you review that ordinance, that legislation for the province, is to make sure that we empower communities, Mahoshi Aruna, to be able to manage the biodiversity within the areas of their own jurisdiction. Let me repeat that. Part of the empowering provision which the MEC can delegate is that if Nakikwako Mokgosi village and I'm under Hoshi, and that area is about 6,000 hectares. That's where we've got grazing area, there are rivers passing by, and there is a residential area. In that 6,000 hectares, the project of community rangers is about saying, this is not even the game reserve or nature reserve. This is just the village, Mishate Aruna, where our people are. So with the community rangers program, we are saying, we want to make sure that every traditional council must have a community ranger, must have this program, which means there must be people, our young people, who are employed in that village, whose duty is only one, to look after the biodiversity of that village. What does that mean? It simply means, go to the next slide. I'll come back to this one. Go to the next slide. Oh, no, sorry. Roll back. Yes. I'm sorry, I took the one in US dollars. Now, it simply means that on the outskirts of that village, there will be a neighboring village. And there will be a whole lot of activities. But in that village, in that community under Mshate, under Hoshi, we want to support as government, working with the province, Northwest, to say all your 54 traditional councils. We can start small, depending on the availability of the budget. All the 54 traditional councils must have the community rangers. So in that 6,000 hectares of that village or that community, you will have people who are looking this area and say, we want to make sure that no illegal activities happen here. No illegal chopping down of trees happen in this zone. No dumping of of things, of very chemicals and a lot of things like diapers and many, many other things will happen in that village. So the rangers will make sure that they clean the rivers. They also raise awareness about the cleanliness of the rivers in that community. That will be their duty. And they will make sure that nobody has got wet wood in their household. How do you have a wet wood in your household? That means you chopped a tree somewhere, isn't it? Because we know you still can harvest wood which is dry, which is dead, for your own livelihood. But you don't have to chop a tree. Because there are calamities that can follow. Next slide. Now, what we have done, MEC, we have applied $5 million with Jeff 8, and we're expecting an outcome in the next 3 or so months. And in this application, Northwest is part of it, Limpopo, Northern Cape, as well as Eastern Cape. So that we employ as a pilot 320 community rangers to support these 4 provinces as a pilot. But going to the future and resources permitting, what should we do? We should then escalate this pilot to include all the 54 plus traditional councils in the province. That is the aim. Number 2, we have applied for CAT-SETA. CAT-SETA ran a very important program. We were meeting with the CEO about 4 weeks ago, so that they can give us a budget to support this program. And the positive mode that is coming from there is that if anything, we may get support from CAT-SETA. And if we get support from CAT-SETA, we're going to add into that other one that I spoke about and expand the number of community rangers. Next slide. Not only are we focusing on, there is the CAT-SETA that I was speaking about. There we are. Now, the reason I spend a little bit of time on the CRP, it is because Community Rangers program is going to become a cushion for the pressures that are inserted on our provincial nature reserves. If the biodiversity in the community is thriving, there will be no need for any trouble for anywhere. Because beside the rangers, on the layer number 2, we are saying those communities who have got, and let me repeat this one, those communities who have got land that can be suitable for wildlife economy, they should come forward so that we put them in the database. As government, we need to seek resources to make sure that they are supported, so that communities can also run their own game ranches. Yes. In South Africa, we won't do what other countries have done. And it doesn't matter whichever year. South Africa will never do what other countries have done. When they obtain their freedom, they go on a rampage, where you took a land from this one, you took it and put it in this one. We always follow the law because we are a constitutional democracy. So while the ranches are thriving, we want to see emerging game farmers also thriving. That will simply mean A gentleman like Ngwatu, is Ngwatu Makena here? Can you stand? Every year I take Ngwatu Makena to US. We are going back to US in January again. The reason I do that, it is because Ngwatu Makena is one of the less than 10 professional hunting outfitters, black professional hunting outfitters in this country. Jigeleli. Less than 10. Now, the reason I take him to US is because the biggest hunting market is the United States. They say in their estimations, there is over 100 million potential hunters in that country. And there is currently over 15 million registered hunters in the US as we speak. And what does hunting do? Hunting generates over 20 billion to the South African economy. Over 20 billion. You have got the statistics that will show you like you're around close to 2 billion from foreign hunting, and then domestically we've got over 15 to 17 billion generated by hunting. So we need to see 200, 300, 400 Makenas, black emerging professional hunters, who can then bring in the market to this country. So I go with him, as well as another guy called Francis Malibane from Limpopo. So there are only two. So we take them on a 3-year program. We pay for their flights, accommodation, stipend, everything. All they need is to bring their bags. And that works. And the good thing is that our industry, our established industry, warmly welcome them. They really open their arms and say, we know you are new in this area. Come stay with us. We'll show you how the trade happens. And as we speak, all of them, they started generating the hunts from the United States. Starting from this year, they started bringing clients who are coming to hunt for them. But they cannot succeed without the land. They need the land. Any professional hunting outfitter will tell you, I need the land, my own land with my own animals. So I call upon the Department of Agriculture in this province. Give him the land. Lease him. Just lease him. You will see what will happen. And many, many others that are aspiring like that, as an example. And all other departments that can assist. Okay, we are concluding the last one. Sorry, I always forget. This one, MEC, is the initiative we have taken. We have taken initiative to support emerging. We have taken initiative to support emerging game farmers in South Africa. And this initiative says, if you have got a product in the biodiversity economy space, because you may not be well known, we have created a portal. It's called Biodiversity Investment Portal. It was launched by our Director General. It is live. If you go to www.biodiversity today, now as we speak, you can even go now, biodiversityportal.co.za, you'll find some live projects there today out of this. So this is to support those people, a community initiative, a cooperative initiative, small business initiative, to say you can now be able to profile your bankable, your investable project or product or proposal in that portal at national level. if you look at this one, we have again, MEC made a call in March this year, I think it was March, to invite people that want us to pilot, emerging game farmers that want us to pilot a game meat strategy. And this is what we have received. We have received 9 applications from Northwest, and the rest is other provinces. And the idea is to make sure we support those who will qualify, so that we put infrastructure, we make sure that there is a game meat abattoir and all the requirements in line with agriculture requirements and the regulations. Thank you very much. This is the last slide. Yes, it might have taken long. Although the guy who's presenting is very short. But thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're not going to deliberate on it now because the program organizers have created enough space for where deliberations of this will happen. For now, I just want to hand over, unless if you want a 5-minute ventilation break, at least 5-minute ventilation break, will that be fine? Or you are ready, we can continue? Okay. Thank you. I think the majority says we continue. So, let's get our speaker here. Let me first check. Do we have Baba Jamini in our midst? Yes, let's get Mpo. Can we put our hands together for Mpo Chiane? He comes from the National Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment to share with us a little bit about stats that he has. Let's put our hands together for him. Thank you. And while Mpo is preparing, let me also make sure that all the successful speakers or succeeding speakers are ready after him, because after him, we're going to have Lydia Bebe. Is it Bebe or Bebe? Yes, from the University of Stellenbosch, from the Institute of the university, responsible for wildlife economy. And lastly, then we will have our industry colleague, Colin Engelbrecht. I saw him. And then that will conclude, and then we go for lunch. Good.
Morning, afternoon. Am I audible? My name is Mpo Chiane from DFFE, and I work for the branch Biodiversity and Conservation. And it's not on, eh? My name is Mpo Chiane. Yes, that's better. From DFFE, and I'm from the branch Biodiversity and Conservation. I'm specifically responsible for hunting matters, and also I deal with international trade in wildlife species. So today I'm going to take you through some of the issues with regards to wildlife trade in South Africa, and I'm going to also just go through the hunting stats for all the professional hunting, what Mr. Matibe said previously, the guys that come in every year to hunt, and we've got stats for that particular year. Thank you. So before I start, it's always important to remember that everything we do in wildlife, especially the fauna and the flora, is that we have to abide by the Constitution and most importantly, by the regulations that regulate that trade. It's not a free-for-all. We've got a global responsibility and a national responsibility to ensure that whatever we're doing is not detrimental to the survival of that particular species that we're dealing with in South Africa. So we've got various instruments, or let's call it various legislations to address that particular thing. So there's regulations around CITES, which deals with the international trade. I'll touch on that a little bit. We've got TOPS regulations, and I already highlighted that previously that TOPS regulations will regulate the domestic use of that species, what permits you must apply for, what kind of permits you get, and you've got norms and standards when you're speaking about rhino, you've got elephant populations in terms of management, and then there's annual reporting, this fly. And you've got reporting in terms of stockpiles and rhino horn stockpiles that you must report on. Those are our international obligation as a country. We are part of many conventions in the world, and we're responsible to ensure that we follow those convention requirements. And in South Africa, you've got things like common law that applies to the Constitution, NIMBA, the Game Theft Act, a very important act in terms of ownership of game, and the provincial legislation. In every province, they've got regulation that regulates how you manage animals in your particular province. It can be different from one province to another. So we are part of this animal called CITES. CITES regulates the export and import of wild species from South Africa to another part of the world. It divides its animals into 3 categories, Appendix 1, 2, and 3. And most of the trade that we do in South Africa is all under Appendix 2, which means all your common game that you can trade in. So every time someone must move something, you need to apply for a permit. That's how we can record where one animal left from South Africa to go to another country. That's the only way to do it, to record that trade and register it. Okay, I want to skip that. So these are a number of countries that are part of CITES. 184 parties. You can see all the white dots are the only countries that are not part of CITES. Almost the whole globe is part of CITES. So we must ensure that we are part of this and we are compliant with their requirements. So where does South Africa sit in terms of the global trade, import, export? We are here in Southern Africa. We are a major importing and exporting country. So what happens is that people will go to another country, hunt, things will come through us. Either they get processed here in South Africa and then will go back to the US. So from Namibia side, from the other side, Tanzania, things usually come back down to South Africa, imported in South Africa, and then re-exported. So which means we issue a lot of permits as a country, and we're a big role player in international trade. Just some of the highlights of what is in trade. From the analysis we did a couple of years ago, 2005, 2014, we see that South Africa and SADC mainly is dominated by export of live parrots, live reptiles, crocodile skins, crocodile meat, plants and succulents, hunting trophies. So those are some of our biggest export and re-export figures. We also export, as I said, seeds in terms of aloe forex. You know about the plant aloe. We export that. It's used all over the world as a finished product. We also, believe it or not, between those years, around $278 million US in that industry of African greys. Have you heard about African greys? It's like a little parrot that can speak. And people buy it in other countries because it's a good pet. They are bred here in South Africa and then exported as pets to other countries. It's a big, big industry that most people are not involved in, nor even aware of. Live plants, as I said, crocodile meat, these are volumes, a number of kilograms that we're exporting from South Africa. And these are only on CITES permits. I can imagine there are other non-CITES that are not logged on permits. other product that we export. But this is because we can calculate, because we issue permits for them. So, in general, the trophy hunting is about 1-point-something billion rands industry. There is the big volumes, parrots, reptiles, and the reptile is pushed largely by crocodiles, because we export a lot of crocodiles from South Africa, and succulent, and a little bit trade in cycad species. So where are these things going to? Live birds, majority of export of live birds, Bahrain, Oman, Pakistan. Those parrots that I'm talking about, most of the species end up in the Middle East. Most of our export of crocodile meat and all that is the blue line going to China. Most of the trade in tusk of elephant tusks are all from hunting trophies. They go to the US, United States, that's the majority, not all of them, but most of them. These are the dominant figures. Most of skins, crocodile skins, leather products, they all end up in Spain, Germany, Belgium. Those are our big importers. And that's where they are processed and made into the shoes that come back here, and we buy them ourselves. Because we export what? Raw material mostly. That's what we do. Most of our plant species, they go to Germany, Italy, they make all those slimming products, they say you drink a pill and then you lose weight or you don't gain appetite. They all go to Germany for processing and come back to us, and some of them go to Argentina. Most of the trade come between us and Namibia in terms of raw plant products. This is the amount of places that you can leave the country from. You can leave South Africa from any of these border gates. Over 58, 52, 54 border posts in South Africa, which makes us a very busy country in terms of entry and exit. And if you're gonna put in people to be there to make sure that no illegal rhino horn leaves the country, it's very hard when you have such a thing. So we need to limit the number of port of entry internationally into South Africa so that we can put the expertise at the border posts in order to ensure compliance in those border posts. So in terms of CITES, we have limited the international entry in terms of CITES species to this particular port of entry and exit. So the sector is big in terms of CITES. There's a lot of trade that happens. There's cosmic product, food, collections, tourism items, and all of that are regulated by CITES in terms of international trade. But we can't do that, colleagues, if we are unable to do compliance. When there's such a big trade, the provincial authorities must be able to be present and check compliance to ensure that everyone is doing things legally. Because if you don't check those things and people pick up that we're not checking those things, we lose the market to international decisions like CITES, where they say no trade in this species anymore because you don't seem to have control over it. There's open borders, you can live from anywhere, and there's no control. We have a responsibility to ensure that we control the trade internally. So I'm gonna move on to the stats now. So I always say when I start the stats is that this is an underestimate. Number one, we are assuming that this is one hunter per professional hunter. So one guy came with one professional hunter. We are also assuming all the animals are hunted are males or trophy animals, because sometimes they hunt more than that and pay for that, but they don't put it on the register. We are assuming that all hunts are accounted for during the reporting period. So we are assuming that the clients or the professional hunter or outfitter has returned the form back to the province so that we can add it to the stats. Data is correctly captured by the provinces and by us when we reflect on it. The things that are not included in the stats. This is the money that is excluded from the stats. The fencing, game animals, permitting fees, facilities, maintenance, staff, that is not included. Air ticket, fuel, transport, shipping fee, tourism activity. If someone comes to South Africa and comes to hunt, he might end up doing 5 other things. Going to Kruger, going to Cape Town. All that money, there's no way we're capturing it. We don't know what other economic activity they take place. So it's not gonna be included in the stats, it's just not there. There are other things like gifts, courier shops, souvenirs, bags, not in the stats. clothing, ammunition, equipment, tips, video, photography, taxidermy work is not in the hunting stats. So the stats I'm providing now is just from the hunting, from the animals, excluding so much of this money that's not currently counted in our hunting stats. So from 2022, the reason is 2022, the 2023 stats are currently being worked on, so I don't have the latest now, but I'll give you what happened in 2023. This is the provinces in South Africa, and these are number of clients per province, international clients per province. Northwest is there about 370 something, and the biggest province is then being Limpopo in terms of number of clients for 2022. A country of origin, where do these clients come from? Most of our country, as Mr. Matibe said already, is the United States, you can see there, followed by Denmark, Germany, Spain, Canada, France, Sweden, Norway, the UK, and Hungary. We're seeing an increase with Hungary hunts these days. I don't know what we're doing right or wrong in Hungary, but there are people coming in now frequently. If we split them per province, per country, is that you'll see the US still dominates the market as per usual, and Germany and Spain and Canada in that order. And what are they hunting? They're hunting impala, dominating, warthog, kudu, blesbok, springbok, wildebeest, oryxes, zebras, nyalas, waterbuck. Those are the species that are mostly hunted by the American hunters. But if we select certain species, you want to just see how that works out, is that we've got a lot of buffalo hunts that are also being hunted. A lot of lions are hunted, roan, crocodile, white rhino, one of our main reason for people to come to South Africa, they can hunt white rhino in South Africa. There's elephants that are hunted. There's no lion, there's no leopard or black rhino at the moment because we just don't have a quota yet for that. And last year, total generated was about 1.8 billion in 2022. But I wanted to show you this, is that if you look where we were in 2016, in terms of the amount of money made, and when we crashed to about 1.2 million rand, because of COVID, we had almost nothing. We are slowly, 2021, 9.5, and now we're back at the figures even better than what we were in 2022. So I've not counted 2023, but it seems things are coming back to normal in terms of money being made if you compared over the years. So what are the challenges in our space? Transformation. Mr. Matibe touched on it. Most of the businesses or outfitters and whatever is not fully transformed. We need to put effort into that and ensure that we have more professional hunters, more outfitters, more people involved in the industry itself. This industry is growing with or without us, Mr. Matibe. They don't wait for us. It's business. They want to have more land. They want to have more animals. They want to hunt anymore. If we, as the regulators, as government, don't have enough staff to go out there and be present during a hunt, or enough staff to attend to the compliance issues, the industry will go on and will always be behind. So this is a major challenge. We need to employ people to support such a growing industry with such a lot of money that's coming to the country. And we can't do it if we are now lagging behind because there's no support. There's no people to attend hunts. There's no people to be present or issue permits. You take 2 years to issue a permit. All those frustrations hamper the industry from growth. And we need to ensure that in our own offices, in each province, we ensure that we meet that demand that the industry has. We have a lot of lawfare that's currently going on. Is that every time you do something, you hunt something, someone takes you to court. So it's a new kind of challenge that we're challenging, is that there is a lot of people that are against hunting, that are against this sustainable use industry, and they're using different forms of laws to stop you from using your own resources, including the laws of your country. So that's a new kind of thing that's happening. It's a challenge because it costs us a lot of money to defend cases in court, and it costs provincial government more money going to defending court case instead of using the species sustainably. There is a lot of anti-hunting, anti-trade sentiments in the country. That's also a challenge for us because that informs the general public. The general public does not know what hunting is. They don't know about hunting and these figures and what it's good, the economical impact it has. And this anti-sentiment can result in things like stricter domestic measures, which means a country can say, I just don't want anything from South Africa. I don't want any hunting from South Africa, and can't do anything about it. It's their own country. It's because there are people there on Facebook, they wake up, yeah, this is what. You just say things like that. and you write on your face, but you don't know the impact that you are having. Things like airline bans. You know, there are some airlines, about 90% now, Mr. Matibe, that won't accept any hunting trophies. People are struggling. They come here, they hunt, they can't take their animals back home because the airlines have put a ban. Without any law, I just don't carry hunting trophies, we're stuck. So that's a very big challenge that we must change. And this comes from us as government to lead that charge and go to those airlines and say, guys, this is a legal activity. The species was legally acquired. The scientific work behind it is clean. There is no challenges. We must lead that charge, not anyone else. And please, we must avoid own goals. This thing of legal people doing illegal things are own goals. It's ammunition for the other side to take you on. Stop, if you know you need a permit to hunt, why don't you just apply for a permit? Stop doing things that exposes the industry, exposes the whole things that I talked about stricter domestic measures, anti-hunting sentiment, by scoring a lot of own goals through non-compliance. So we need everyone to work together. I know that in every industry there are people that do bad things, but those are simple own goals that we can't afford because we have a need in this country. But there are opportunities. There is an opportunity for us to showcase the things that we're doing right. Biodiversity management plans that are in place. Non-disciplined finding that came out just this week, showing that trade from South Africa is sustainable and legal. We must tell people these things because it's important that they understand that when we're hunting, we're not abusing or overtaking from the wild. Transformation is also a challenge and an opportunity because we have a chance to grow the industry and add more people to be inclusive. There's a game meat strategy. I think Mr. Matibe will have touched of that. There's a biodiversity economy strategy. There's e-permitting. We need to move more and more towards e-permitting because that's the only way to go. We need to do things quicker, faster, and effective, and we need that. And this is the economic impact that is in the rural areas where people don't have time for Facebook and comment. They want to feel the impact on their communities, on their land. So, in short, trade should be legal, sustainable, and traceable, because legal trade can be beneficial to conservation and wild species and livelihoods, while illegal trade can pose serious risks to species. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mpho, Gianne, for outlining this very important piece of work. The kitchen has advised that in the name of health, we're not supposed to stay another moment before lunch. So we will break for lunch for about 30 minutes? 30. Yeah, for about 30 minutes. And then we'll come back and complete the last two presentations for this session. Lunch is served, it's the next door building. The next door building on the other side. That's where we all be going. If we can take advantage and really gallop this food, we must eat. And then come back exactly, is it 5 past? Or what is the time there? Should we come at, or 27 minutes to? Yeah, but let me put it 2 o'clock, let's be back. So that we don't lose the time. Our program is too large. Thank you.